Welcome to the Existence Project podcast, where we share stories from our Keeping It Human workshops and hope to prove the community can be founded on connection, dignity, and belonging for all, where everyone's story is heard. Cory, a hip-hop artist who first experienced homelessness as a youth, connected with us to speak about the many ways people who end up homeless fall through the cracks from an early age. A true survivor of the streets, Cory brings sincerity, eloquence, and a story of resilience to a larger dialogue around how community support can be designed to legitimately address the needs of people living in the street community. So Cory Resilient, he runs a YouTube channel for people from the community to connect with his experiences. He's also been making beats and music for about 15 years. Another part of his story is that he's survived and navigated through street living since the age of 14. And so, Cory Resilient, I want to ask you, what does resilient mean to you?
Well, I think honestly, just, for me, it's just like I've been through a lot of, hard times in life, and I think the best way to use those hard times is to empower other people with them and try to turn it into a positive, instead of let it defeat you, all the things that you've been through, you know what I mean? You can be resilient and fight past that. And then the reward is that you can empower other people, you know what I mean? And it makes a huge difference, you know what I mean? So, but yeah.
Cool. So in your story, you've had a lot of crazy life experiences. And what I noticed is that you've really been able to identify the ways systemically that the systems that were in place, aren't available to help people in critical junctures of their life. One of the things that started for you at was school. And I was wondering, can you speak a bit to how school is kind of systemically that wasn't working out?
Yeah, like when I was going to school, I was dealing with abuse at the home, alcoholics, my parents were drunk. There was a lot of fighting. So then I would go to school and, I would struggle at school and then, I would basically be punished, from the system, from the way I was behaving, but they didn't know that what I was going through at home, right? So it's just like you're getting punished, in two different ways. I was just a kid. I was in, whatever, special behavior class, stuff like that. And then I told them that I was going through abuse, and, there was alcohol and stuff. And CAS got involved for a bit and then they kind of just disappeared. So there wasn't really an outcome of that, you know what I mean? So the lifestyle just continued on and it just felt like, the system was just failing to see what I was going through and they were punishing me on top of it and there was just no mercy, So,
yeah. It just sounds like these systems are designed to fail. And for you, you've had to go through the criminal justice system before as well. And I'm wondering, can you talk about that design and how it is designed to fail, how it does fail people on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, once I started, I started to have trouble in my life, I noticed that once you fall below a certain line, it keeps you there. It seems instead of like the system trying to help me rehabilitate or build myself back up or correct myself, it was just in a way being used against me to cause more problems for me. Like it was just putting me further into a more problematic situation, versus actually trying to help me, you know what I mean? So once I realized that, I knew I was on my own and I couldn't look for help to the system because the system betrayed me in so many different ways where I didn't trust any element of the system anymore, So.
And to me, that also speaks to isolation because once you're not part of the system, you tend to become more isolated. And the interplay of that happens with mental health, and that can lead into addiction and other things. And I'm wondering if you want to speak to that, to isolation and the effect that can have on people you've maybe observed or yourself in your own experience.
Yeah, it makes you not want to be a part of society or be a part of the system because you've already reached out to the system for help and you've realized that it's distorted, it's corrupt, and for some odd reason, it seems that it's going against you versus trying to help you, but it claims to be there to help you. So it's like people kind of like find their own way of surviving after that, their own way of life, which, you're looking at that what is in the streets right now.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because there's nowhere else for these people to go. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
I'm wondering, did it change the way that you relate to like everyday people you might see walking on the street? Does it change the way that you might relate individually with people?
I understand. I mean, like, I understand from a different point of view now. Like, I feel for the people that are broken, that have drug addictions. You know what I mean? That have been homeless most of their lives, that have abuse in their family, in their parents and stuff like that, because they're broken in a way that the rest of like society can't see. So society just, instead of, they can't see there's that stigma, right?
Mm.
And it's like, you know, it's like society hates the homeless. Like, you just start being turned against each other. We start getting turned against each other. And then once I realized what was going on, I seen there was a huge problem, and I
Mm.
was like, the system's failing to see this, and it's recreating the same problems for itself instead of fixing them. It's just a cycle of the same. It's creating the issues. The system, the way it's designed, is creating the issues that, you know, for itself, type thing.
And you've been all over Canada, right? Like you've traveled around Canada a lot. So what are some things that you've noticed from region to region in Canada? Like, do you notice there's commonalities in the way that things are approached, or do you think that things are different? And I'm also curious, now you're here in Victoria, is there anything unique about Victoria and the way that homelessness is dealt with as a community?
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in multiple cities in Ontario. I've traveled across Canada multiple times, and I've been in the streets in all these different cities across the provinces. I've experienced homelessness in all these different places all across Canada, and it just seems to be the same thing everywhere. There's a huge problem. There's a huge problem, like in the schooling system, the renting system. Like, rent is too high. People aren't paid enough. Like, it doesn't matter where you go. I've been all over the country, and it's the same thing. But the thing about Victoria is that you're less likely to get out of the situation that you're in a place like this in Victoria. This is the last place, but it's the most beautiful. It's the most beautiful place for, like, say, for a homeless person to be. There's resources, you know what I mean? The weather is good and stuff, but at the same time, it's like, you can't make it out here. You know what I mean? Like, or else you're just permanently homeless. You become permanently homeless when you come to a place like Victoria. Like,
Speak more to that. What do you mean?
like, it seems like there's all these resources here that say, oh, housing, this, that, here, we're here to help you, income assistance, all these things, right? But then you go to all these places, and then they just tell you to go to another place, and they say, go to this place. And then that place tells you to go back to the other place that you just got sent from. So you're just going in a circle. There's really no progression made, and nobody really can help. It's really up to you. But the thing is that, rent, it's like, it's made to keep you homeless. Like, the whole system is just meant to keep you down, keep it so you can't prevail, you can't add on. You can only stay and maintain at that level. You know what I mean? And you try to pierce through that and get through that in every way possible, but for some reason, it's relentless. And you don't understand why. It's just confusing how one could be stuck in a situation like this. Even with me, at this point, I don't have any drug addiction issues that I'm struggling with. I don't really have any barriers. It's just a matter of rent is too high. The system is made in a way that makes it almost impossible for somebody like me with my history and my past to prevail it and to make it in this world. It's not very welcoming. It's not very nice. You know what I mean? It's doesn't seem like a welcoming thing.
Mm. And I'm also hearing that the institutions that are supposed to be leading people to recovery aren't leading them there. And I'm wondering if you have some ideas for things that could be implemented. Like, what would make a difference in the average person? What are like three basic things that could be changed around here that could help people recover from street life and become stable?
Well, I think, again, what you guys are doing is one way, is to making that connection with the people, and people in government, people in a higher position that have the power to change things, or, look at things to make, arrangements to start fixing things or whatever. Just taking that wall out in between, making that connection. I think probably that's the first thing that needs to happen is because the people that are in power that have the ability to help or change things are just not seeing it for themselves what's happening, and there's this, again, that stigma, you know what I mean, and that's what's blocking the ability for resources and help, you know, is it's there's just this wall, and it almost seems like they built that wall and they put it there because they didn't want to deal with it, you know what I mean. But now there's more and more problems. It keeps getting worse and worse, so they keep saying, okay, fine, we'll look at it. What's the problem? How can we fix it, right? But you know, it just comes down to being more involved and more understanding in what's actually the problem and what's going on. Because if they're going to contribute to the problems, they're just creating more stress on the system and on themselves to fail even more. It's just going to get worse and worse. If it's not straightened out, you can't, there's no shortcuts or halfway doing something, right? And I feel like the system's just kind of done that. You know what I mean? It's more beneficial for people that, you know, are going to benefit the system, you know, type thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain class of people that aren't beneficial to the system or society, therefore they're kind of thrown underneath the rug. And then once you get below that bracket, it's almost impossible to get yourself out of that, even being sober. Because, you know, and I've been all over the country, and it's not something, you know, that I'm doing wrong, because I've tried to correct everything that I was doing wrong internally and externally, and try to better myself so I could have good things in life and I could earn a way in society and be a part of it, but it wouldn't give me an opportunity to.
Right.
There was, yeah.
So what are some of those distinct supports that could give people an opportunity? So like housing might be one, right? Can you think of any others?
More of things like this, what we're doing right now, you know, what you guys are doing. I think that really that's the answer, because I haven't seen anything else. You know, that's going to make that connection and start, you know, changing things. I feel like whatever they were doing before, what we were doing before isn't working. So we have to do something new. And this, you know, this is something different that hasn't been tried, right?
And on an individual level, like if you were going to speak to someone that was like, oh, I really want to help people, but I don't really know how to do it on a day-to-day basis, what do you think is something that the average person could do?
I mean, it's hard to say. They would just be willing to look at what's going on, I guess, instead of not looking at it, just ignoring it. Just having that idea that homeless people are just people that it's all their fault, they've done it to themselves. People that are struggling in this world, that are low income or whatever it may be, the idea is that it must have happened because it's their fault. They're lazy, they don't want to work, they want to go and party and do drugs. You know what I'm saying? But it roots from brokenness, some emotional damage. But everybody said, you know, and that's another thing. People are like stubborn, like they're prideful. So they're like, oh, whatever, I've been through things, get over it, you know, type of thing. It's just a mentality. It's a mentality that society has to basically be like, oh, whatever, if I made it, you can make it type thing, or you have no excuse, or I don't know, just, you know, it's just pure hate. There's just pure hate directed towards homelessness and homeless people, or people struggling with addictions and things like that.
And I want to ask, like, so when people have those beliefs and they're wide held in society, how does it affect someone receiving those on the receiving end?
Yeah, it just makes them withdraw even further away from getting help or you know, doing the right thing or trying to be a part of society. And, you know, it blocks that ability. It stops that from being able to happen, and it just adds on to the cycle of destruction, you know?
And, you know, a big part of your story is music as well. And I want to actually ask you a little bit about that. So you rap and you make beats, and you've been doing that for a long time. And I'm curious, how did it start for you, and what role did that play in your life?
Yeah, so like when I was like 14, 15, when I was going through a lot of things I was going through, I guess I naturally just turned to music as an outlet to express myself in a way of venting. And, you know, I had a powerful message from everything that I went through, and I somehow found purpose in delivering that, you know. And I go by Sincere Music. That's my artist name, Sincere Music, like music with a Z, 7S. And like I'm on iTunes and Spotify, Google Play, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, like it was just an empowering thing for me to be able to turn my struggles into something prosperous, and that was the beginning of that. And that's where it started. As for like the Cory resilient stuff, that started later. Within the last couple of years, I started that YouTube channel, and the idea behind that, which is separate from my music. It's more to, just talking about, certain things, and just trying to tell people my story and empower people with what I've been through and what I've learned in my life. And, whatever I learn, I try to deliver,
What are some themes of the things you talk about?
I talk about governmental corruption. I talk about, system corruption, all types of different types of corruption, even like stigma and things that I've experienced in my life, my point of views, my views on certain things, certain popular topics, just a variety of things. But I try to stay more conscious with what I'm doing. And I want to also, sometimes I steer off a little bit and I do some random things on my YouTube channel that don't really add up to the majority of the videos that I'm making. Mm-hmm. That happens sometimes, but naturally. But I try to stay on point. And the message is, to be resilient. You know what I mean? It's just, I knew I went through a lot in life, and I was so devastated and like defeated by it. I was like, it made me think, well, what if I could turn this around? How powerful would that be? How amazing would that be? You know what I mean? Maybe I don't want to go out like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to, I don't want to be defeated like that. So I was like, what can I do? You know what I mean? And that's why I decided to make the channel and start making videos to document my life and what I go through being homeless, all the stigmas that are involved that I experience, like, you know what I mean? And how you get treated by the system, man. It's just, it's just terrible, Once you fall under a certain line, it just seems like it's built, the system's designed to keep you there. So I want to expose that. And at the same time, I want to be resilient and prosperous, and then show my people that and empower them to do the same,
And where are you at now in your life, and where are you headed? Where do you want to be?
Where I'm at now is, I'm still struggling with homelessness, instability, and dealing with past emotional trauma that I never thought I would have to deal with, or, I didn't think that it would, that it was going to affect me in any way. But my idea of life now is to try to progress myself in any way that I can, and better myself in any way I can, because I value my life now. So, I mean, I'm looking at things differently, and I'm trying to involve myself more, in things in the community, and just doing good things, and using my hardships, to help other people. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Right on, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank
you. You've been listening to the Existence Project podcast. If you want to hear more, check out our website, theexistenceproject.ca, or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Existence Project.